Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are watching this today. It's Ken and I'm back with some coffee with Ken. This is good. I've got a great show for you today, a great topic. This is actually gonna be really good if you are over the age of 50, if you have parents who are over the age of 50, if you know somebody who's over the age of 50. So for every single one of you watching, this is gonna be something that is worth your time and energy, and hopefully it brings you value. Hopefully you can share this information, share the video, have a conversation with your partner, with your spouse, with your parents, with your grandparents. This is something you're gonna wanna talk about. So Andrew Allentuck from the Financial Post or National Post, I believe it's the same newspaper, wrote an article, and the article was titled, "Why This Woman with $1.5 million net worth, most of it tied up in her home, shouldn't bother selling." Now, I don't know Andrew. I am not here to pick apart his article, but I have a lot of clients, and I've actually been coaching and helping a lot of clients through that are older, meaning over 50, and we're gonna say this, I'm gonna drop that are older. I don't mean that, you know, you're 110, but just bear with me on this. So basically, he's saying that you shouldn't sell your house, that she shouldn't sell her house. And the person that she's talked about, and I'm gonna link the article in the description below. I'd love to hear your comments. He calls her Eliza. Her age is 66. She's been a tech executive or worked at a tech company and makes $75K a year. She has just under $1.5 million in assets. Now, he originally titled the article million net worth, $1.5 million net worth, most of it tied up in her home. That's a lie, and I'm not here to say one way or the other, but it's not all tied up in her house. $750,000, so half of it is tied up in her house. So let's just put that out there first of all. I'm not here to break down his math. I'm not here to talk about the numbers. I'm not here to talk about what she makes. I am not a money manager. I have no knowledge of the stock market. I have limited knowledge, but I'm not an expert, so I'm not here to talk about that. Not here to talk about how much she has to save in retirement or anything like that. This is why it's important for you in the real estate aspect. Now, he's saying, to sum up this article, she has a $750,000 house that is completely paid off, okay? That's cool. So put yourself in this perspective. You forget how much you make a year. I'm not here to compare that with what this situation is, but say that you have a pension and you can live comfortably or half decent off your current pension. Maybe you have some CPP, old age, all those things that are gonna kick in over the next few years. But your house has a small mortgage or little to no mortgage on it. And let's just use this example, $750,000 house. Most of you, where you are watching this from, is probably in that situation. What should you do? This is a great article. What should you do? So, Andrew, don't want to mispronounce his name. Andrew talks about how she should keep her house and rent out the basement. And that's not bad. That's not a bad thing to look at, okay? And I'm not against that. In fact, I'm all for that. But if you have $750,000 and your house has kind of hit the cap as to, let me break this down a little bit differently. $750,000 house. If you're in a bungalow and it's your dream house and you don't want to move, an option to add to your pension is to rent out the basement. And that's not a bad thing. But if you're gonna do that, here's a question I have for you. Why would you not move, and so you're only using the top part of your bungalow, why would you not move to a condo for $400,000? Okay? Sell your house for $750,000, maybe it's $775,000, maybe it's $800,000. Sell it, buy a condo, and have $350,000, maybe it's $300,000, maybe it's $500,000 left over from the sale of your house. Okay? Then you can take that money and invest it into something. Instead of keeping your mortgage amount, your equity in your house the amount you've paid off in your mortgage, so say it's a $750,000 house, that's a dead asset now. Now, he goes on to talk about if she is going to need some medical care down the road, that she can sell her house then and use that to, I don't know, fund her health care. And I'm not saying that's wrong, and I'm not disagreeing with anything that Andrew's talking about here, but what I'm saying is that if you have an $800,000 asset, your house is not an asset unless you can access and use the money. And homes are not assets, okay? That's a big, bold statement. They are assets. It's a forced savings account for most Canadians because most Canadians are horrible at saving money. So the idea is that you're gonna buy a house for, let's say, $500,000, and in 30 years it's gonna be worth 1.2. Okay, general mathematics. I'm not saying that's gonna happen, but that's kind of the forced savings attitude and mindset that we have as Canadians. In the US, a lot of houses have gone down in value. A lot of houses aren't worth the ground that they're on in some markets. And in other markets, highly desirable markets, Houston, Texas, California in some areas in Florida, obviously there's appreciation. So it depends on the marketplace, as it does up here, because if you're more north, the house doesn't appreciate as much. Point being is this: if your house is paid off, you have $800,000 or $700,000 or $500,000 or $1.5 million, whatever the home is worth, sitting there that can't be used and can't be touched. My suggestion is sell that asset, turn it into an asset, and buy something significantly cheaper. You're gonna say, Cam, we can't find anything. Listen, you may have to move 20 minutes or 30 minutes outside of where you live. That's not a bad thing. The reason why I want you to sell your big home, your asset now, is very simple. It's appreciated probably as much as it's going to for the next 3 to 5 years. Now, will it go up 2 to 3%? 100%. Not saying it won't. The market keeps going like that, so if you have $1 million, will it go up $20,000 a year? Probably will. There's a good chance, unless we dive into a recession, which is possible. It's probably gonna sit around that, 2 to 3% a year. So that's not bad, but you don't have access to that money. You don't have access to it. So what you can do though is buy something significantly cheaper and let that appreciate while you also have the significant amount of money out of that house into another asset. And that's what he fails to talk about here, is he fails to talk about, instead of renting out the basement, because the majority of people don't want people living in their house, like, let's be honest, sell your high asset, whatever price it is, and buy something significantly cheaper and reinvest that money in whatever you feel comfortable with. That is the key. And I'm working with a lot of baby boomers. I'm just about finished rolling out a program specifically for baby boomers that are in this situation. Majority of you have your mortgages paid off or have a small mortgage on your house, which is fantastic. Good for you. I think that's amazing that your house is paid off. Now you want to take that money and put it to work, because a majority of baby boomers either have no pension or it's small. Okay, so we need to be able to capitalize on that money and go and create more money with it. Whether you're buying another income property, you are putting in the stock market, whatever you do with that, that's a discussion to be had down the road. But the reality is, sell your big asset. That now, if you have, $500,000 a year coming in from pensions and you've done a crazy amount of investing and saving, it doesn't matter then. It doesn't matter. But does it? Does it make sense? And I'm gonna end this. Does it make sense to keep your house that's worth X, let's call it between $500,000 and $1 million that's paid off, or does it make sense to sell it, use that money, reinvest it, because right now it's dead money, and go and make more money off of it? Can you buy a condo? Can you buy a smaller bungalow? Can you rent something significantly cheaper in a different marketplace that actually costs less than the cost of ownership? Can you go out and buy something cheaper and go and make money with it with the excess savings. I think you can, and I think it's worth it to explore those options. And so the program I'm rolling out specifically for baby boomers, and really more specifically in the GTA, if you live in Mississauga, Milton, Hamilton, Oakville, Burlington, Dundas, the surrounding area there, I would love to sit down and have a chat with you about your current house. Let's talk about your goals. You know, if you're thinking in the next 15 years that you'd like to maybe travel more, not have to do a lot of yard maintenance. This is another thing that this article from Andrew, very well written, but missed a ton of points in my opinion. I'd actually love to have a chat with him. I think it'd be awesome to sit down and have a chat with him. But do you want to do yard maintenance? And if you don't, now you've got to have that expense that you're paying for. That doesn't make any sense to me. Some people don't want to live in a condo, but the reality is it's simple, easy living. There's a lot of great buildings out there that you can hear your neighbors, that are pet friendly, that have a lot of great people, that you build that community, and they're fairly inexpensive. The secret is they're not gonna be. Condos are gonna be the next big thing to take off, and you've heard it here first, and I'm not the only guy that's saying that, but outside of Toronto, the downtown core, condos are going to be a huge commodity in the next 10 years just because of our population, because of people just like you. There's nothing wrong with that, but the reality is your house has pretty much peaked, right? Based on what people make and what they can afford, and those condos are still very affordable. So that's awesome. The good thing about that is that you can now catch a second upside, okay? A second swing in the market. Even if those larger homes go down, condos, in my opinion, are going to remain level and probably go up. So you've got a good opportunity to get a good chunk of money in a healthy market right now. Buy another appreciating asset. Money is gonna sit in that condo, and to add a whole nother layer to this, which I'm actually gonna talk to a mortgage broker, Laura, that I did an interview with. If you missed that interview, it's a really good interview. And why, when money is under 5%, why it makes sense to have a mortgage, okay? Because if you have that mortgage, you're taking the money that you have and hopefully making more than 5%. So you're paying 5% to live where you are, but hopefully you're making 7 to 10 and more on the money that you would have used to not have a mortgage. You're actually making more than what it's costing you to borrow that money. Whole nother topic, and that's part of the program I'm rolling out, that I'm sitting down with financial experts, mortgage brokers, and people that can help you make better financial decisions. But I've got this great plan that's perfect just for you if you're thinking about downsizing and want to really maximize the dollars that your home is worth. Number one, get into the right condo or the right bungalow. Number two, and how you can live a better, simpler, just easier life by getting rid of that big old house and buying something that makes sense for you. Thank you so much for watching. I had a blast putting all this together and actually talking to you about this. I think it's something that needs to be talked about. If any of you guys are financial experts and would love to come on, I do Zoom calls with professionals, so I would love to sit down and chat with you about this. I'm not saying that that my opinion is the only right opinion. There's a lot of people out there that have great experience and opinions on this, but I know that this works. I know that you can take a big chunk of money, still have a beautiful place, and then go out and make that money work even harder. Hope this helped. I'll be back with you soon. It's Coffee with Ken. I didn't even have a sip. Here, we're gonna sip this out. Listen, go out and have yourself an amazing day.